Alrighty, guys, we are back. It's your boy EQ, and up next we have how Kendrick Lamar just confirmed a second album is coming. Shout out to Fantastic Hip Hop for the video. I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume probably everyone kind of expects a second album. And with that being the case, it's almost like we're not appreciating GNX enough. His GNX album is definitely sending out shockwaves throughout the industry and the internet. Everything from Lil Wayne and Snoop Dogg responding all the way to the hilarious meme-worthy content surrounding the mustard scream. I feel like this album has definitely dominated social media. But one of the big talking points is that there is a second album coming and that this isn't the album, it's just a album, which honestly I think is a really, really good album. So I feel like we should show it more love. But while I would love more Kendrick music, as I feel like probably most of you guys would as well, I feel like we really should take the time and really appreciate GNX because it is an awesome album. He definitely killed a lot of narratives, honestly, with this one, from him not putting on for West Coast artists and certain stands saying that he was just using those West Coast artists. He didn't need to do any of this stuff. A lot of those features are artists that, honestly, the rest of the world probably really haven't heard of outside of LA. So that was really, really dope. And also the fact that he filled that album from like beginning to end with radio bops, something that people for some reason were saying that he couldn't do, which is erroneous because the guy has had some major radio records throughout his career, including the more trappy commercial sound that has definitely been a staple for a very long time. So yeah, man, I don't really see where those narratives came from, but they don't have to be true for some people to run with them. That being said, there are definitely some clues that possibly allude to another project on the horizon, such as the fact that he threw the Heart Part 6 on there. And obviously, those songs only show up on the mixtape, which generally are just albums. I think people have kind of mislabeled a lot of projects. They're albums, guys. If the artist wants to go and use the mixtape and album terms interchangeably, you can do that, but at the end of the day, these are original production, full-length projects, you know? So to me and to a lot of other people, those are albums. But usually he does throw the Heart series songs basically on the album before his more conceptual project, where he does go and interweave like a cohesive story, which is what makes it a concept album, where GNX was not. Honestly, for me, it was a really dope album, but yeah, it did sound just like a bunch of bangers put together. I do love the fact that he did tie that album together with like those Spanish samples. I feel like that was really epic. And while I love the project, it's definitely not a concept project. And obviously, the rumblings of a possible Taylor Swift and Rihanna feature are definitely fueling the second album rumors. But enough dilly-dallying, let's jump right into the video. Again, it's entitled How Kendrick Lamar Just Confirmed a Second Album is Coming.
Now, while Kendrick Lamar's brand new album GNX is already one of the most important projects rap has seen in quite some time, and with all of its 12 tracks,
Facts.
there is just so much to unpack and decode. Through all of the album's themes and messaging, the most important thing to understand about this record and Kendrick Lamar's career right now as a whole is that this new project is playing a role that only someone on Kendrick's level could ever pull off, because despite this record having more to say and offer than 99.9% of what everything else that comes out in hip-hop ever does, for Kendrick Lamar's standards, even with an album as powerful and commanding as the one we are all listening to, when you listen and look around closely, you'll realize that somehow this is not even the main event for what everything Kendrick's mission in this
Course not, but it's the perfect thing to keep the momentum that they've had this whole year. Kendrick and PG Lang have definitely done a great job of keeping the conversation centered around him and anticipating this project and obviously this second secret album. For me, with the amazing run Kendrick is on, like fam, you have to expect this first project to be the most anticipated project of the year. And while I did not expect it till February, given the fact that it has been so long, it's not like us. I'm definitely excited for new music from Kendrick anytime it does drop. And given the patterns Kendrick has shown throughout his career, it's safe to assume that another project is coming.
era in his career has been leading to. Because between the clues Kendrick has left us himself throughout this record's lyrics and trailers, to what many of the close collaborators around him have said now that this first record has
all
finally
Headshots
been released.
2025.
Altogether, despite GNX being a surefire album of the year contender in of itself, this record is just another moment in this run of dominance for Kendrick Lamar that is all leading to something much greater than.
And honestly, that's a true testament to the guy's skill. That an album that's just used to keep the momentum going, a secondary project, sounds way better than people's primary projects. So I'm expecting this project to do monster numbers. And if he's able to tie that next project with the Super Bowl, with the Grammys, and do it, I don't know, maybe late January. So by the time he does perform it, people know the lyrics like the back of their hand, and you have an arena full of people singing these records. Honestly, I see no reason why not to believe that February is probably going to be like the biggest month of his career. which is saying a lot because this guy has done a lot over the course of his career. His February might be the strongest month for an artist probably ever, man.
Than everything we have already witnessed. And while
He
that
comes
is
home with them
saying
6
so
to 7
much,
Grammys.
this record is just
It's a
another
wrap.
moment in what may be the greatest run by any rapper of all time.
1000%.
And in this run of dominance from Kendrick Lamar, somehow this is all leading to something even greater than we have already seen. And now what this grand moment that Kendrick Lamar and everyone around him is still teasing is an entire other album. And now before we even get into how Kendrick Lamar has confirmed this himself, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe, it helps me out a ton. And now when it comes to the fact that Kendrick Lamar has a second and way more ambitious project on the way, in order to understand the context around what Kendrick has quietly revealed to us right below our radar, first off we need to look at the—
I mean, he's the king of the triple entendre, right? So yeah, the clues would be hidden within. And honestly, those concept albums for me, it's almost like auditory cinema, you know? He's able to like paint vivid pictures through sonics, man. So while I love the GNX album, I'm pretty sure that he's also been working on that concept project as well. And I feel like that's going to be a heavy contender for like the 2026 Grammys. Because this GNX album will not be eligible because it wasn't submitted in time for this upcoming Grammys. And even if he does drop that second project, I could also see GNX just being nominated just because of the impact that Kendrick has had and him have 2 albums in the running for Best Album of the Year.
Sentiment around his camp and close
Is that unprecedented?
As while everyone who was a part of this journey to create GNX is celebrating the incredible work that was done on this record, and are
Somebody
just letting
scream
this project
mustard.
create a ripple in the rap and music world like few other bodies of work ever have. Still, even while doing all of this, multiple major sources near Kendrick have all alluded to the fact that the job they are doing is not finished. And from the producer on track 12 Gloria Dietz posting the iconic clip of Kobe Bryant from the 2009 NBA Finals where he says these exact words, to then one of the rappers who is featured on this album and who also happens to be Kendrick Lamar's own cousin Hidda J3 posting saying, "It's not over yet, get ready for curfew," which now as Hidda J3 has shown that in the past he has been correct about teasing Kendrick's upcoming moves.
Of course, that's his cousin. If somebody knows, it's probably going to be him.
Does he share direct texts about the fact that Kendrick was working on an album in the first place? And then of course knowing that he is actually a close source to Kendrick and he is literally featured on this project. This claim seems to have a lot of validity, and now adding to this hype and making these sentiments even stronger, none other than who is considered the spokesperson for the West Coast hip-hop scene as a whole at this point in DJ Head, decided to respond to a post talking about GNX that said, "Something tell me this is an appetizer," and he responded to this with the eye emoji, and I mean—
Yo, DJ Head he's the perfect spokesperson to have versus somebody like an Academics who, if he has a secret, be prepared. He's going to tell the whole world. I feel like anytime he gets like a text or a message, he's quick to go and like blab it on stream. Almost making me wonder if when these people give him information, if they're expecting Academics to put it out there anyway, even if they say otherwise. Almost like a way to have some plausible deniability and be like, hey, I didn't tell him to tell anybody, you know? But you know what you're doing when you give something to Act versus DJ Head, who can say a lot without saying nothing, man. And he knows when to let out certain details. You can see that when he's getting grilled with certain questions, especially given the fact that he is so close to Kendrick.
I mean, with someone who is so close to the entire West Coast of hip-hop, publicly stating this, and then knowing that he's not just close to Kendrick Lamar and TDE, but that he is so in the loop with these guys that he usually has insider information and usually even gets to hear a lot of the projects they are working on early.
Of course.
Overall, everything that is being said by these people—
he's a tastemaker in the West Coast for a very long time. He's been putting on West Coast artists for a minute now. It's just now him getting this national prominence within this last year, given his proximity to Kendrick.
People is already making this claim that a second album is coming seem more credible than ever, and now adding to these claims and really showing that on Kendrick Lamar's end, everything we are hearing is real and something bigger is still on the way. When we really begin to unpack GNX after diving into what this project has to offer and what it is trying to accomplish, despite the fact that it contains some of the best rapping we have heard in a long time and some of the best rap songs of the entire year.
Oh, 1000%. I'm pretty sure right now these 12 songs are dominating the top 20 of the Billboard charts, and I can confidently say that. This album is great. The fact that people are kind of like just seeing this as a project in passing, it kind of doesn't serve the project any justice, you know what I mean? We should give this project credit. Like, the dude killed it from beginning to end. Even haters of Kendrick have come to that realization that, yeah, man, this is a good project. You can't really say anything otherwise.
Lamar's standards, this album is framed through a completely different lens than the rest of his mainline discography has been, and what I mean by that is that Kendrick's other studio albums all cover these grand themes and ideas
Yeah,
that have taken him years
concept
to
albums.
understand and write about, and even beyond the conceptual framework of the story. On all of his albums, Kendrick usually frames these narratives through a form of media within the album, whether it's a movie like Good Kid Mad City or a stage play like with Mr. Morale.
Again, that's all under the umbrella of a concept album. That theme. Obviously, most of Kendrick Lamar's big albums are all concept albums. Like they said, Good Kid, Mad City, where they interweave a story, or How to Pimp a Butterfly, another story interwoven into that album as well, that really immerses you into the experience, like while listening, you know? Which is why I say it's like auditory cinema. It's like a movie. Another big famous rap concept album, I would say, would be like Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links, but we see it all over the place in like Pink Floyd's The Wall and Tommy with The Who. It's definitely been more of a staple in rock, but it definitely adds to the experience of actually listening to the project because they're intended to be listened to in its entirety. You know, you don't just go and skip to a certain part of a movie unless you want to just see that one scene. Usually you watch that movie from beginning to end, and the entirety of that experience is the journey. And it's something that does take a lot more time and care because you have to make sure that all these parts are cohesive.
The big steppers. And so with GNX, when we look at it in comparison to everything else Kendrick Lamar has done, this album just takes things in a completely different direction, as it is designed to exist within a specific moment in
Radio
time
bops.
and serve as a statement to everything that it has represented, which is just drastically different than anything we have ever seen from Kendrick in the past. And this
I just think he put together an album full of radio bops. That might be reading too much into it.
This is not a knock to this project because, in all honesty, this was
That's
a
a really
much
good
needed
project.
change of pace considering where Kendrick was at, because we just got to hear him in such an unfiltered and raw manner on this album, which is absolutely amazing, and was really the only
He's
place to
popping his
go
shit.
after a run like he had during the Drake beef. And so all in all, when you consider the way this album runs, both in terms of the feel of Kendrick's performance, and then also with the sound.
And I will say this, I feel like we are entering a new era of Kendrick Lamar because you can't possibly be the same person after having the run he's been having. On that album, I don't think I've ever heard him as confident as I did on that album. And I know how that beef went definitely had something to do with that.
Which leans way more into the West Coast than we have ever seen from Kendrick, and
Oh,
beyond this, with
1000%.
all of the features from
That was
West
one of the
Coast
points.
MCs, who, while they show they have the
Kill
skills
those
to show
narratives.
up on big moments, in terms of their star power, they are nowhere near Kendrick's level, and they are really here to help get discovered and have their names reach a wider audience than they otherwise ever would. With all of these factors in consideration as well, while we don't know what this record is officially being labeled as from Kendrick Lamar and his team, the whole idea of featuring local rappers from your city on a project in this type of a fashion.
Bam, it's the same reason why he put on for all those people at the Amazon Pop-Out show. You're putting them on an international stage. That event was one of the most streamed events of the year. I reacted to it, and one of the thoughts I had was that, bam, I think I would go pay to see this in a theater, see it in IMAX, and feel like I'm in that arena. I would definitely do that. If the Vegas Sphere ever holds that show, I would definitely go take a flight out there to go watch it. So he puts on for these artists, and even then, people were running with the narrative that he was just using them. Like, fam, outside of LA, a lot of those acts probably really don't get too much buzz outside of here. So the fact that they're up there being exposed to this new audience, because this beef obviously drew in a lot of casual viewers. So they were potentially gaining a bunch of fans that they wouldn't have gained otherwise. I feel like this project was the same thing. It's like everyone's saying like, hey, you did that, but you're not going to give him no features. And he goes and does just that. They also say, even through the beef, they were saying this guy just makes lyrical miracle music that kind of kills the party. When in fact, the dude has had countless records on the radio that would satisfy that. And what did he do on this project? He filled the whole album up with those type of records. So yeah, man, I feel like this album definitely killed a lot of narratives, but I think he also did it because the guys over there at PG Lang are smart. Those guys are marketing geniuses. And they're like, you know what? Let's put this out to keep the conversation about us. I mean, look, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's reacting to it. You have rappers and artists and all sorts of people responding to like being called out. So this album is definitely doing its job and more, fam, because I expect it to do monster numbers as well.
Is something that is rooted right in mixtape culture, and definitely when creating this experience. In terms of how Kendrick decided to go about what he wanted to do here, he definitely did go more in that route as opposed to his usual narrative-driven arcs that he uses to make his albums all play out with a story-like structure. And again, with Kendrick Lamar doing this, he is really just showing how much of a genius he is and how high of a level he is operating on at the moment. Because with so much tension in the rap game, and as he raps about on this album, so much to still respond to that is happening and brewing right within this very moment. Kendrick dropping a project where we have direct confirmation that he was recording new music just days before its release was more than needed right now because it is adding to his discography and this chapter of his career and really
He
this
must have
chapter of
like
hip-hop
2-3
history
albums
as a
worth of
whole
material.
by showing what
The
all
way
the
he's been
elusive
working
diss
this year.
tracks and features can culminate to when we see them in the full scale of a project, and Kendrick clearly did not disappoint with this. But now if this all wasn't enough, it's also important to note that just with the way Kendrick Lamar raps throughout so many songs on this record, there is really no sense of finality to anything he is saying, and just like when we go back to a track like Euphoria, and remember that when he hinted at doing something like dropping back-to-back songs, he went on to do that, and when we go back to all of his diss tracks, we can really see that Kendrick
He about to drop
foreshadowed what his
back-to-back
next moves
albums.
were always going to be. Here, with Kendrick saying things like double back like a deluxe on a track like Squabble Up, he is already leaving hints that what he is doing right now is far from over, and that we should be ready for him to come right back. And now, in addition to what Kendrick is saying on a track like this, I think the most telling sign from his own perspective that there is still more music to come is that when Kendrick Lamar initially teased this record with a snippet right before it dropped, and just like we saw with Squabble Up in the Not Like Us music video where it was
Yeah, and that snippet wasn't on the album either, so obviously the evidence is just stacking up.
This song seems like it's being used to both mark a new moment in time as it kicked off GNX to drop in the first place, but just like when we all heard what was known as the Broccoli snippet at the time, because it's not actually a part of the official music being released. It is leaving the door open for more music to arrive in the future, and now coming back to Kendrick's bars about doubling up, the fact that in this video where Kendrick showed off a new song that is still not yet on the album, there is not one GNX car but two in this otherwise empty room. This also seems to be pointing to the fact that whatever we are seeing is just part one of a greater moment that we just don't know yet. So all in all, when you put all the subtle details and hints Kendrick Lamar has left in his music and what his collaborators are all saying together, everything is pointing to the fact that despite Kendrick already giving us what's really going to go down as a generational project, as we are seeing him just flex on the entire rap
and while we could chalk up those two cars to just good composition, you do want balance in your shots. But also Kendrick doesn't just put something in the video just cuz. It might very well be a visual double entendre.
Music world within a way that only few other MCs have ever even come close to. Somehow, even with the bar this high, this is not even him operating at his best yet. And now considering that for Kendrick Lamar when it comes to his other albums in the past, as those bodies of work all took years to make,
well, best
I'd
is
imagine
subjective.
that whatever is going to follow up on this record is going to be an album that will be a conceptual project and that will tell a greater and more impactful story about where all of this is headed. And I'm sure when we get to this point, there will also be a proper rollout, but for now, Kendrick Lamar's surprise releasing a project like the one we have seen was the best thing he could have done in this moment. And just as this record came out of nowhere and changed the game all over again, what Kendrick is doing throughout this project perfectly embodied that as well, and as we sit with this record more and more and try to piece together what is one of Kendrick's most dynamic and entertaining projects ever, which is saying a lot, I'm sure we're going to end up finding out.
Well, these are all records that people can turn up to. So yeah, man. So he's satisfying that crowd. I love the project, man, from beginning to end. But given all the clues we've been given and seeing, yeah, man, it would not be a stretch if we saw that concept album very, very soon.
More clues about what's to come, because no matter what, it's clear that with how motivated Kendrick Lamar is right now and how important his contributions are to the entire genre of hip-hop as a whole, that he is not going to be stopping for some time to come. And so now with all this said, let me know. Do you think another Kendrick Lamar album is coming very soon, and what do you think about the project he just dropped currently? I mean, it's clear that the impact of this record is already great enough to stand on its own, but the fact that this era from him is...
And because it's so great, I feel like we are doing it a complete injustice by not appreciating it for what it is, at least as much as it should. Because while it is dominating the conversation, I feel like people still are bringing up the fact that, hey, maybe this is not the album. So yeah, we are kind of doing it an injustice, but I'm definitely not going to complain if we get more projects. And that's definitely something else that would kill the narrative that he doesn't drop as frequently, because we've definitely been getting a lot of Kendrick music this year.
Really promising to get even
better
not seem
and just
like give us more and more music is showcasing just how great of a time we are living in when it comes to the state of Kendrick's rap career and really for the entire rap
he's at
game,
his zenith
because
right
there's
now.
Nobody setting the tone and setting the pace as well right now as Kendrick Lamar. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps.
We're obviously getting another project, but even if we didn't, I would not be mad. GNX is a great album. I definitely feel like it should be appreciated a little more for what it is, as an awesome project and not just like a stepping stone. Given the clues that we've been getting, like I've been saying, the Heart record being on there, the fact that there really is no common theme running through the album other than a few Spanish samples, which is not really indicative of what we usually get with some of these Kendrick projects. So I do expect an album with like a more narrative format, but GNX was freaking awesome, guys. I'm gonna be bumping that for a while. I don't know why people are saying these records are gonna die out after a month. I don't think that. These records are gonna live on because they're gonna be played outside, fam. But I'd be lying if I said I would not be excited if some more music dropped. Kendrick right now, like I said, is having one of the greatest runs ever. As not just a rapper, as a musician. The dude is literally like the topic of so many conversations to the point where the rest of the industry is responding and reacting to it. But definitely let me know if you guys think a second album is coming or if it's just us speculating for no reason. I think that even if there is a second album coming, let's appreciate the music that we have at hand right now because it is awesome music. I have no complaints, man. And also let me know if you guys have any clues that were missed in this video or missed in some of the things I said, because I'd be definitely be interested in hearing some of your theories as well. But definitely let me know what you guys think. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It does the channel wonders. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yesterday was a huge day for the channel. Guys, we have close to 50K views over the last like day and a half. And it's honestly all thanks to you guys. So I definitely want to thank you guys. The love and support you guys have been showing the channel is freaking tremendous. Like I've said in other videos, I've only been doing this since April. So the fact that this channel has already grown to where it's at now is honestly like astonishing. Like I said before, like I set a goal of having 1,000 subs in the first year. And from everything I was reading and watching, they say that was a lofty goal. There's people that have been doing it for years that don't amass 200 subs, and we're already over 3.3 thousand. So yeah, I just want to thank you guys and let you guys know I am so appreciative and that the love and support you guys show in the comments and the dialogues are probably the biggest factor when it comes to me making these videos because I always love to hear what you guys have to say. And I'm also grateful that you guys use this channel as a way to entertain yourself throughout the day and really add on to the conversations we're having. So yeah, man, hope you guys love the video and I hope to see you guys soon. Yeah, this album is coming out, man. I'm thinking late January, but definitely let me know when you guys think this project's coming out as well.